want to begin with the profile of Regina Mwangi. Is the Executive Director at Justice Advocacy and Empowerment Center. Regina seeks to advocate for social justice and equitable development of all people using her ability to contribute to the achievement of women, girls, and PWD's rights, good governance, and justice through community education and advocacy. Before joining the Justice Advocacy and Empowerment Center, Regina previously served in different capacities, which include Senior Social Development Manager at Johari Foundation, UK, Program Officer, Justice and Peace Commission, Catholic Diocese of Murang'a for 11 years. Regina also provides leadership in several organizations, including Murang'a Civil Society Network, Murang'a Budget Coalition, and also coordinates National Women Steering Committee activities in Murang'a. Regina Wambui is a trained graduate in community development and social work. Makofi ya Regina. All right, and on her panel, we have Honorable Lina Jebi, who I believe will be joining us via Zoom. And she's a former MP, Marakwet East constituency from 2002 to 2012. She's the former chair of the anti-FGM organization, I beg your pardon, board, former chair of the anti-FGM board, and she's a former minister for cooperatives. And that is cooperative development in Kenya. She also served as chair of KEWOPA, one of our partners at this convention. And she advocates for elimination of FGM and was instrumental in the enactment of the Prohibition of FGM Act of 2011, which also saw the formation of the Anti-FGM Board in 2013. Makofi kwake. We have a gentleman, and he is sitting in for Mike Washira of Crew. And I just want to read out his profile. His name is Moses Okello, and he's the Women's Economic Empowerment Lead at the Center for Rights, Education and Awareness. He is a professional women's economic empowerment and agro-food value chain practitioner. And for 7 years, he has been known for developing integrated approaches and providing technical assistance to entrepreneur women in Kenya to enhance economic recovery and resilience of these women, giving them back power and a voice to participate in socioeconomic and political leadership. Moses co-chairs both the Nairobi County Socioeconomic Empowerment and Financial Inclusion Sector Working Group and the Women's Economic Empowerment Community of Practices, Financial Inclusion and Sustainable Entrepreneurship thematic areas. Makofi yake. I'm sure a lot of women are looking forward to hear from you, especially given your specialty in economic empowerment and the agro-food value chain. So we are looking forward to hear your submissions, Moses. And also on the panel, last but definitely not least, is Sophie Dola of World March of Women. And let me tell you just a little bit about her, although there is a lot she will expound on. And she is a mother, an unapologetic women's rights defender, a community mobilizer and organizer, and above all, a feminist artist. The national coordinator of the World March of Women Kenya, coordinator for the Arts Progressive Space, SWAN, and that is Support Women Artists Now, and a life member of the 5 Cs Human Rights Theatre Collective, which does progressive popular education for social transformation. Makofi ya Sophie.
I am glad to have my 2 panelists and Lina Jebi Kilimo, who is online. The discussion around this convention since yesterday is bringing together all the women. And in this panel, we'll be discussing collaboration, because it is paying the price, all hands on the deck. That means that all of us have to work together. It is not a space that you can go alone. You've got to have somebody holding your hand. You've got to have you holding someone else's hand so that we can journey together as women in Kenya. And the previous discussion was on intergeneration, meaning that we need each other. We need to hold each other, we need to mentor each other, and we need to work together. However, in terms of political space, in terms of social economic space, we actually need to work together as collaborators. And I'll pose my first question to Dola, who works with World March of Women. And my question to you, Dola, is from your experience as an organization working with women, how do we ensure that there's collaboration with civil society, government, and other stakeholders to facilitate a coordinated approach towards achieving gender equality, socio-economic empowerment, and political participation? How are we going to do that from the experience that you have, having been able to run World March of Women?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really humbled and privileged to be here and to share our experience. So, as you've heard, I'm Sophie, and just what you forgot to say is that I'm a feminist, an apologetic feminist. Today at lunch, someone was asking, what is feminism? And if you see in my profile, I had written, I was very specific with my pronouns, like I'm a she, her, because we are still paying the price. Even when you say that you're a feminist, you still have to really expound on what kind of feminism, who are you, and so it comes with a lot of paying the price, even by what you want to say. So I really want to appreciate that. So the World March of Women is an international feminist action movement, and we underline the word action, because people say that women whine a lot, and women have been whining a lot. That is the notion out there. And as we can see, we are all here, gathered here, and a lot of you are here because you're doing a lot of action wherever you are. So, but we are still paying the price. So, and because we wanted change, and there's this very broad saying that says that if you want change, you must be ready for a lot of disruption. We are seeing women. Sorry, am I very fast? Yeah, I see the hand telling me that I'm a bit fast. So when we want change, we must be ready for all these disruptions. Nothing will come easy. Nothing has ever come easy. And in this country, if there's a section or a sector that has really struggled and continues struggling, is the women. We have seen women come a long way. From the histories that we know and from the discussion since yesterday, we have heard how much women have struggled and how they continue struggling. So we are continuing to pay the price, and the disruptions are so many. Women fought for the Constitution in this country. So many, I can see so many faces here, people who are at Bomas, people who struggled, and there was, we went to the referendum, there was a lot of civic education on the Constitution and the civic education that a lot of grassroots women did, and women's rights organizations made it, and we realized a new Constitution, but we are still struggling. The first section of that Constitution that was being looked at in this country was the Truth Agenda, and we've talked about it. So it is still a struggle. We are still paying the price, because even going to court is paying a price. Even trying and struggling to do all this is just still paying the price. So women continue paying the price. And we know that because we want change, and that change is coming. And that change is going to come as a flood, and nobody is going to take us back, because that is what we believe in. We cannot be in a space where we fight so hard and yet we don't believe. So we believe that that flood is coming, and it's going to be a women's flag, a flag that we are all going to appreciate, and we're going to have it. So, and I want to say that even as we continue, as World March of Women, we've been part and parcel of this struggle. The World March of Women in Kenya is 16 years now, though we started other spaces together. So since 2007, we've been doing a lot of political training at the grassroots level. And when I say that we've been doing a lot of these trainings, we do political trainings, we do feminist political education, we do a lot of popular education, and we use very many different mediums. As you've heard, I'm also a progressive social activist, and I use a lot of art, I use a lot of music, I use poetry, I use pictures and drawings to get to the heart, because art is where art really drives that message home. I know we have scholars, and I know we have many people, we have researchers. People do a lot of things, but we cannot work in silos. We have to work together. From the research that has been done, for example, from the African Women Studies Center, we used a lot of the information that was got from there to break down what has been put there in very simple terms, using music, popular music for women to understand, because we are talking about women who are carrying baggages. We are talking about taking very heavy and very particular messages. The constitutional discussions are not easy, they're very heavy. And you can imagine if us, who are already working in organizations that have specific agendas, but sometimes we feel it's so heavy. What about that woman who still have so many other struggles, doing her own things, and we still expect her to stand up and say that I'm going for that political office, I want to run, and yet even getting a grasp of that, sometimes we forget. So for us, we try to find a way of reaching that grassroots woman, and so that's why we use so many other mediums to bring the voice of women together. And we do it in collaboration with many other organizations. We look for very strategic and particular political allies that we can work with. We've worked with a lot of organizations, civil society organizations, we work with other social movements, we work with art spaces where we know that progressive art spaces and progressive women voices, that we know that when we take this banner out there, then a woman will be happy and able to pick up. So also just a point of clarity, I think I spoke in the morning, and one of the questions that I had was actually asking, because we've had so much, a lot of wealth of information has been shared here, very rich information. And particularly, I was happy and very much intrigued by the conversation that, by the contribution that the former Deputy Justice, Dr. Baraza gave. And for me, some of it was a little bit technical, and you can imagine from where I come from. But this is the information that we really want, because now we are strategizing. What is our strategy? What are we taking down there to the women? Because they are the voters, they're the majority, they're the ones who are pitting everybody up there, But in the end, who takes it up all? This is a patriarchal society. Kenya is so full of patriarchy. Political parties are so patriarchal, and we had all that. I don't have to repeat. We had all the struggles that women are having. So it is our own, it's up to us to know how we take that information. And that was the clarity that we really wanted to find out. Of course, we have grassroots women represented here. I think majority of the women in this group are in this room are grassroots women. If not, then you have a network of grassroots women that you're connecting with. Because I think for a very long time, that has now become our norm as women in this country. Before, we used to have a class issue, because that was the only thing that was dividing women in this country. Class. Ule ni wa class gani, ule yako wapi, wako na organization gani, organization yenu inafandiwa na akina nani. Those were the questions. But now we no longer ask those questions. What is the issue? We are women who have an agenda, we are women who are working together, and we are women who must really struggle and see that how do we bring this fight and bring the information down. So we try as much as possible to do this, and we've opened very many political spaces for women. We do feminist political trainings, we do, sometimes we do institutes. Currently we are working on a space again just to help women to understand, because politics and the word political sometimes also scares a lot of women, because of the many things and the many notions and the frustrations that we had in this podium, and we see them every day. So what we do is we try as much as possible to bring those voices together and see how best can we bring the voices and just give everybody that platform. So yeah, at World March of Women, we tend to do as much as we can, where we can, and we do a lot of collaborations as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sophie. I don't know if Lina, Honorable Rina is online. Honorable Lina Jebi Kilimo is online.
Yes.
Welcome to this session, and we are happy to have you with us today. Honorable, I would want to ask you one question. You have been in the political sphere and you have a lot of experience as an elected member of parliament. And as we are discussing on ways of collaborating and working together and ensuring that we create as many avenues as possible for women to get in the political sphere and also to participate and become leaders in this country. For us to achieve our goals, we require to be very strategic, and we need to put a lot of effort together. And with your experience in politics, what concrete actions do you believe would accelerate the progress for women in political participation and gender equality?
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I miss the physical presence, but I'm grateful that I'm able to meet with you online. Now, to get more women into the political space, you have to create a platform for them. And how do you create a platform for them? Give them some activities to do in the regions they will be represented. I speak with gratitude to ECWD, Education Center for Women in Democracy. It was headed by then Ambassador Karika Seyi, where she got women who are interested in politics, trained us, and prepared us to become paralegals for whatever we found to be abuse of human rights. So different people picked different agendas. Mine, I picked female genital mutilation and human and insecurity, cartography. And so we were to make reports on what we address. You look for an opportunity. We didn't have the resources to call for a meeting. But that's when there is a chief's meeting, there is a DO's meeting, they always say, Mama Moja Simame, and we want a woman to speak. Then because you know where you're heading to, you will be able to stand up and say, of course, what the agenda of that day, and end up with what you want to achieve, why you want to ascend into leadership. And make a report that I did this, so that as you share with others, you sharpen your skills. I know the civil societies have done a lot to train us, but our presence in the locations where we want to stand is very, very important. The training is very good because you equip us with the materials to use. I remember I was connected to through ECWD once again to get some videos, some graphic materials on the GM. They got some for me from Femnet. I didn't know what Femnet is, but I had this big papers that I was using to show the consequences of FGM. Until a point where when people look at you, they know you by the agenda that you are addressing. And I believe that starting as early as this, in our 4 years before, gives us the opportunity to see how we can build the capacity of women, help them be able to domesticate some of the international instruments which we know they speak to human rights abuses or cultural empowerment. Help them to understand our constitution so that when they get that space, that platform in the regions they want to stand in, they are able to speak. However, speak in a manner that addresses or targets the audience, yeah, by making the subject relevant to wherever they are at that particular time. So this is what I did. Of course, there was a lot of training on our part, even just how to be able to win elections. I know that these 2 days we've been talking, and I know I'm going overboard, but let me just talk about what we've been going through these 2 days, about holding each other's hands, mentoring each other. This is very key. Speaking from my own experience, without Senator Zipporah Kittoni holding my hand and pointing to me that the door of opportunity. She was a current member of parliament, but when I spoke to her, she told me, don't enter through this door. Enter through the other door. Go and find my sister, Ambassador Tabitha Seye. She was not selfish to say, I want this one for my part. He wanted me to find a way of winning the elections. He pointed me to Tabitha Seye. I went to meet Tabitha. She took me to the Democratic Party of Kenya, a very unpopular party in the Rift Valley. And that is where, in her wisdom, the many years that she's been in leadership, that is where the Zipporah saw an opportunity. So it is important that we mentor each other, we hold each other's hands. And maybe it's because of the mentorship they did to me that as I accessed and I became a member of parliament, I sharpened my skills based on what they taught me to mentor other girls and have an agenda which I needed to achieve. So I know I've spoken so much, there'll be other questions coming. And while in parliament, they are still on holding each other's hands. I'm taking us back to the discussions of yesterday and earlier today. When as Kewalker, as the chairperson of Kewalker, with members, my sisters, there is one thing we agreed, that if our members made a mistake on the floor of their house, we would cheer them so much, stamp our feet, that the rest will wonder, did we not hear right? I thought that was not correct. Also, we covered each other's nakedness as sisters in Kewalker.
Yeah, yes, thank you so much, Honorable Lina, but I would want you to expound on, is she still there?
Yeah, I'm there.
I would still want you probably to expound on two things. We've seen that political parties in Kenya actually shape they shape the politics of today, and also the way that people will be elected. What I would want you maybe probably to enlighten us is that how then do we ensure that the political parties are democratic? And again, we have seen the upcoming of independent candidates every day, and I think that's a phenomenon that all of us have observed. Again, then, how then do we ensure that as we have as many as many independent candidates, this is driven by positive change, and we also ensure diversity and inclusivity in the two.
Yeah, okay, thank you once again. Unfortunately, political parties in our country is more of a boys' club, and to access space in those political parties can be a problem. And so, for you to be able to be elected by those people despite the political parties, then it has to be, what are you standing for? What are you known for? You have to work extra so that when they are making a choice, they are choosing you as a person and not the political party. Political parties, unfortunately, also, at the end of the day, politics is local when it comes to the political party. So it's also important for us as women to be able to see which is the popular party in that area, and now speak to the needs of the people, speak to the emotions of the people. As women, we are advantaged that we can speak to people's emotions on what is hurting them, so that as we compete with the men, they will choose us, elect us on what we have addressed to them, on what we have seen as the challenge over there. I know that to ensure democracy in political parties, I will throw it back to the civil society organizations. They are the people who can agitate for change. They can agitate based on what our constitution talks about, holding the political parties accountable, looking at the various institutions that look into the accountability of political parties, that they are actually holding them accountable. And also justice. If it is the security system, if it is now political parties, if it is saying that a political party will not be able to, they are the ones who will use a tool, what you call come, to come and see these political parties. Are they actually doing what our constitution says they should do? Are they doing what the political party says they should be able to do? Because as a candidate, you cannot now start questioning your party that you are not doing this. You will be blacklisted. But somebody has to stand in the gap for you, and this is the civil society organization. Over to you.
Thank you very much. We're still learning. Over to you, Moses Okero.
We talked about the independent candidates.
Yes.
Yeah, let it be a last resort because they speak negative things about independent candidates. So as I said earlier, political parties are localized at the end of the day. Politics is localized at the end of the day. So as early as you have started now, we see which is the popular party on that side, on wherever you are standing, and you align yourself. However, as the others are just talking superficially, talk deeper on what is the challenge that people are facing. Talk to their emotions. When you go to point A, be like a chameleon. Reach there and you become like that person of that area. You reach this other place, you become like that. I remember training one other woman some time back. They told her when you go to church for the Acorino, make sure you have the longest dress with pleats, not these other pleats which are very permanent. You just have the ones here, so that you are like that. Yeah? And so in that way, they will see you as one of them, they will see you talking what has been happening there. Get intelligence report from the ground first before you arrive at our place. So that when you reach there, you speak and people will wonder, yes, she's touched where it hurts most. Where the shoe has been hurting, she has identified that one. And we can only have our presence in these localities where we are standing when we have an agenda. And I am asking Crown and others, in gratitude for today's meeting, create some activities for women to be doing in the constituencies they want to stand. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Jabi Kilimo. Let's have clap for her. Thank you. Over to you, Moses Okelo from CREW. As we know that for us to achieve our goals together, we need to bring components of many things. Some of them is policy changes and grassroots mobilization. How can organization like yours bring the community and government to foster a holistic approach to empower women economically, politically, and socially?
Oh, thank you so much. My name is Moses Okelo, like you've heard. I work for Center for Rights, Education and Awareness, CREW Kenya, supporting women's economic empowerment work with CREW. The journey has been long working with women entrepreneurs, and something unique about the group that I've been supporting specifically is that they are survivors of gender-based violence. Looking at that issue, at CREW, we knew that it's very important that our approaches, or the approach that we were to adopt, was to be able to holistically or wholly do away with all those issues or unique concerns that women are going through. So briefly about CRU. CRU is a women rights organization. We advocate for rights of women and girls, of course, that have been through gender-based violence. For the past 20 years, we've been in this space, and we've picked a lot of learnings working in this space. Initially, most of our programs were looking at responding to and preventing issues around gender-based violence. But then again, we came to notice that that approach was not comprehensive in a way. And therefore, we had to sit back, not only as a CRU or technical experts at CRU, to identify these key issues that we needed to address completely. We had to also look at the stakeholders, the key players that are also in this space. Local actors, the government, private sector, all these players. And to help us then design a strategy that would completely do away with this challenge that is limiting women from participating in, if not only in political leadership, but also actualizing their socio-economic potentials or actually potentials. So just to help us to then understand what are these holistic approaches. These are strategies or interventions that are in place to completely do away with the unique issues or concerns that women experience. And we noticed that not only women that are at a certain sect within our community that experience these unique challenges, but there is also a group at the grassroots level that we also need to bring up on the table so that together we can push this agenda forward. So that is what at CRU we came to discover. And therefore we came up with Women's Economic Empowerment Department. Well, there is this that I want to talk about. What is it then that we've been able to do? One is that we've leveraged on the existence of local actors to help us then identify the challenges that women go through. And we also came to a common understanding that they themselves have got, or they have got experience in terms of solutions to those challenges that women face at the grassroots level. And that helped us to then develop what we call localized and contextual approaches to these challenges that women go through. Specifically, I will give the case of Jasiri Fund project that we implemented in collaboration with Roots Kenya, CCGD, with support from MasterCard Foundation. This project, as we speak, has helped over 26,205 women to respond to issues that they are experiencing, especially gender-based violence. Then what was this approach that led to this kind of change that we saw? One is that we came to understand that there are systemic gendered barriers that are rooted down there, limiting women from not only gaining their voice, but also participating in some of these spaces that then would help them to voice their issues. And this we called integrated approach or intersectional approach to GBV programming. How does it work? One component was providing comprehensive support services to gender-based violence. The second bit was on sustainable or fostering sustainable financial inclusion and entrepreneurships to women. So that way, we came to learn that if you are able to provide to these survivors of gender-based violence, psychosocial support, and maybe legal aid services, you are able to represent them in court of law through legal aid. That is something else that you really need to provide. Otherwise, they will go back to those households where we've got perpetrators waiting for them. See? So, looking at it that way, we notice that we need to give women voice. They must become financially independent. With financial independence or being able to have resources in your hands, you cannot keep on staying with someone that is there to maybe frustrate you, abuse you, hurt you, or just do things to your loved ones, things that you yourself you would not wish to be done to. So you have a choice. So that aspect of autonomy is something that at CRU and the partners that we work with is what we wanted to then address, to give women second choice, so that they can walk away from perpetrators. They can be able to take care of their unique needs, the needs of their loved ones, and people that depend on them. So then, having provided comprehensive support services to gender-based violence survivors, then how was this financial inclusion model looking like, what we call Jasiri? It was looking at 4 main pathways. One was that we provide skilling, what we call entrepreneurship, and business development training. So this was to help them utilize the financial resources that they were to access through the program to be able to not only invest in their businesses, but wisely use them to meet their basic needs. Number 2 is that there was the aspect of access to credit, the Jasiri Fund itself. We noticed that without credit, these women would then still go back. Training alone is not enough. Let me tell you. Resources must be there, and we must ensure that these women are able to access resources. Not only women at the grassroots level who have expressed the need to venture into businesses, but even those women that are at this level that are aspiring, who are aspiring to get those political seats at the national level. So resources must be provided. So that's a call. And therefore, we noticed that with the Jasiri Fund, the financial ecosystem in itself was not responsive enough to these needs of women. The credit was so expensive in terms of interest. It was way above the commercial rate, and therefore we had to do something to make it below 9%. So it was 8% for these women entrepreneurs. And before they got to access the Jasiri credit, we noticed that a grant had to be also provided to these women, and the grant was not to be returned. This was for starters. Then upon providing that, we ensured that there was what we call business development support services to these women, mentorship, hand-holding, so that not only should one provide training and financial support services, but they were to be mentored in a way that they were able to then get to know how to navigate the confusing market system where their businesses operate. So that is something that CRU did. And we noticed that was not enough. So we reached out to other partners. I will mention Ajira Digital. We noticed that for them to claim bigger market share, we had to bring the aspect of digital literacy to our programming or training. So those people came on board. We paid them nothing, and they offered that. So women were then able to then access markets. The element on capacity building was then able to help women to be able to build networks, foster stronger partnerships, and now they are thriving. Do you know the resultant impact right now? By the time we were enrolling women into the program, almost 100% of them had been through gender-based violence. But as we speak right now, 91% of them tells us that the cases of violence has reduced within those households. And that's so remarkable. And why did that happen? One, these women were able to diversify their businesses. 61% of them, after a period of 3 years, holding their hands together, walking that path with them, said that they were able to diversify their businesses. 63% of them had created jobs for these women, for other people within the community, other women, young people, even to some men, and that is something we noticed with Jasiri Fund project. Most important, we were looking at the interconnection between Jasiri Fund and other societal issues like education, health, and the rest. 86% of these women told us that then they are able to meet their medical bills or obligation. They are able to pay.
Okay. That's great.
That is something that we noticed was so remarkable. So I wanted to say that for us to achieve a holistic approach, then we have to then look at these cross-cutting issues or concerns that women are going through. We have to then identify how these societal issues are interrelated in terms of their goals and resultant goals, what they tend to achieve at the end of the day, and their benefits to society. For example, in conclusion, if a government is providing resources like providing schools with teachers to teach students, providing books for students, then also providing a school feeding program to keep children in school, why then can't government come up with free sanitary towels to also keep those girls that are going through discrimination around menstruation in school? So that is something that we really have to address when we're talking about holistic approaches to achieving socioeconomic and political empowerment of women. So everything that we do must be in a way that it's able to address all issues from societal, economic, political, we go to education, because when one goes to school, we expect them to later transition into the world of work. And when they transition, even the national economy will grow and develop when they pay taxes. Same as that person that have got access to information on how to access the AGPO. Invest in her business, then contribute to national development through payment of taxes. And therefore, this is an agenda that definitely we really need to move together forward. And CRU is already leading the way. Recently, we've collaborated with the county governments of Isiolo, Meru, Nyeri, and Narok to come up with gender-specific GBV response policies. And that you can see even during the devolution conference, what happened. This was recognized, and I believe we can work together, foster coalitions, and forge stronger collaborations and partnerships to be able to work to support women, both at the grassroots level and at this level where we say women are a bit stable, but then again, like we saw yesterday, they do not have other resources to be able to compete for opportunities at the national level or in political spaces. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Moses. You know, as I was listening to you, I remember one time we went to a meeting and Daisy told us, we have to find a way of bringing our resources together as women so that we can support each other. This story of saying that I cannot vie for a position because I don't have money, I think we have 4 years to work for this. If we want to be in the spaces, then we've got to economically empower ourselves, and one way is collaborating and bringing our resources together and supporting each other. That's why this panel is heads on the deck, and it's all of us that must work together. Back to you, Sophie. Transparency, accountability, and gender balance is something that we want to see as women. And looking at the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties and IBC, who shapes the political landscape, what specific actions or reforms would you like to see to achieve transparency, accountability, and gender balance?
Thank you. I think it all goes back to the base. The base is our political parties. These political parties are male-dominated. They are owned by men, so they're led by men. And the women who somehow get positions closer to that higher top within these political spaces go through so much harassment, violation, too much, that by the time they are leaving that seat to go down to make that space equal and to give that equal opportunity to other women, that woman sometimes also feels so patriarchal and so macho because that is what she went through. You use so much money to get that space, and it's never transparent. It's a very rough space for women. And for me, I look at women in politics. Any woman who has gone and has vied and has tried and has attempted is a woman I highly, highly respect. Because these are spaces, yeah, I see Julia saluting. I do salute a lot, and I tell you this all the time, because you go through so much. It is the hardest. It's actually like a prison, even sometimes more than a prison, because it's somewhere you need to call home. I belong to this political party. You sing that political party song along, and then during nominations, you're shocked. We had the stories yesterday from what Sophia shared, and she shared a lot from her own experience, where I am sure so many of us have passed through the same, you know, and. For me, if I hadn't had all these struggles that we've had, I would say, can we have a women's political party? Which we have also seen, and we know that it's possible to have a women's political party, yes. But how viable would that be? Because we are being reminded, like even Honorable Lina has just shared, and she has said that politics are very local. People will look at who's driving, what's the driving force, who's driving us here. You as a woman with all your policies, with a good manifesto, with a better agenda for everybody, because for a woman to get a political seat, that woman will definitely not just speak for her. And it's not there's no women's club, they're boys' clubs. Women don't have time for these clubs, because by the end of the day, you still have your family, you have children, you run around, you do your political, you know, you're out there campaigning, but you still come back to ask, watoto wamepikiwa? You know, you'll always be there finding out what is there, you know. Hapo ndo naambiwa hata auntie amechoka ameenda. You're in the middle of your, you know, and then we still expect to excel and get there. I think this office of the registrar has done tremendous work. We had what Anne Derito shared yesterday, and what she did. And we are so lucky as Kenyan women that that office is being headed by a woman. Imagine if it was being headed by a man in a male-dominated patriarchal country. which we can't lie that it's not. So we are lucky that we have her. And she told us the kind of steps that she takes personally, because she understands the dilemma and the struggles that women in politics go through. So she shared how she helped a lot of us women. Sometimes people think that women are ignorant. Women are not ignorant. Women just don't have time. A lot of time. We have time that is being divided and subdivided and divided to the last letter. Yes. So how much time do you have to even know the world leader of where you're going? Sometimes it's very important. We can't ignore that. But comparing what women go through and what men go through. Yesterday, when Daisy was talking here about the intersectionality of women, and you talked about 3 levels, I think I would want to break it down and bring it to 5 levels. You talked about 1, being a woman, you pay the double price because you're a woman. Imagine you being a woman living with disabilities. We had the disability session here this morning. It's tough. Then you're a woman living with disability in a marginalized community. You're from Northeastern, where it's patriarchal, where everything, even religion, even religious leaders will still turn and point a finger at you. So you're those 3. Those are 3 troubles. On top of you going to a same level field with a man who has all the financial muscle and has all the communal support, and where men sometimes in these marginalized communities, during elections, we hear that men keep the identity cards of the women and they escort the women to the ballot. How do we expect women to excel? So from those 3, we still have 2 that we need to add on to what those 3 that were spoken about yesterday. So we have 2. You are a woman living with disability, living in a marginalized community, and then you're young. Today, we were challenged, and I really want to appreciate Melody, the young girl who spoke this morning. And she said that it starts from home. So you can imagine, if you cannot be supported from home, where we see even able-bodied women, you know, I can walk, I have my money, I can do this, but the man in the house says no. Hautaenda, huendi hiyo siasa, na sita kusupport. And we've even heard videos and audios, and we've seen men, powerful men in this country who believe in the political space, stopping their wives, stopping the women. No, ukienda utafute mahali utaenda kuishi. So you can imagine. So with all this around women, I think our IEBC and the Registrar for Political Parties have a lot of work to do. We need more spaces, more platforms created for women. Mm-hmm. If we can have, and I like the way we were challenged yesterday when Anne Derrito said that, sometimes even as women, you know, umesha electiwa, umeenda, if you're number 2, you know, in our politics there's no number 2. Na hata ukipatiwa, hata ukisaidiwa uwekwe mahali ya tumenominatiwa, it depends on how loud do you sing our political songs and how loud do you dance to these tunes. If you don't do that, you will not be nominated, however strong, however powerful you are. So we have a lot of challenges as women, and women cannot give up because we have come a long way. We have come a very, very long way. And we don't have time, and we cannot afford to give up. Because the struggles, the women who are there ahead of us carried very, very heavy baggages. That if we give up now, trust me, you're letting them down. And you're going to blame ourselves. We will forever blame ourselves. Right now, we are here. Tumehang kwa lose. We're just here. Because 2/3, we don't even know where are these 2/3. You know, we pray every day. You're going to bed and you're saying, oh God, what we fought for, please, isiende. I remember how World March of Women moved around this country collecting signatures. Because we were so happy to see this parliament, at least Kenyan women have power. Tumefunga hiyo parliament. And grassroots women saying, my signature was there. And I collected 15 signatures from my community, and I made a parliament. Look where we are, because it's a patriarchal society. Men still rule this world, and especially this country. So for us, as Kenyan women, I really want to insist and to reiterate that we need to create more spaces. And I really want to appreciate Crown Trust. By the way, to be honest, I like that somebody noted that we have never had a forum where we had a panel of people living with disabilities. I've been to very many panels. I've been to very many spaces. Even internationally, we have not seen this. So this is the beginning of quite a great journey. If we give ourselves hope, can we start giving ourselves that hope? And can we also do that? Can we also do that in our own spaces? Because I think also one of the problems that we have is sometimes, even us, we are to blame sometimes as women. Because we also discriminate against ourselves. Unasema na ule atamanage. Anataka kwenda, ule ataenda wapi? Atatoboa. We ask those questions silently. But again, we just say, enda, just go and try. And then later on, situliwaambia. And yet, you are the one with that vote. She depended on that one vote.
Yeah.
So let's take our voices down. Let's work with the political parties like properly. And if we can have binding laws, we have policies and laws in this country. We have a very, very beautiful constitution, better than the one in Rwanda. But where is Rwanda in terms of women participation compared to Kenya? Our constitution is actually the best, and a lot of people draw inspiration from the Kenyan constitution. We are calling it the women's constitution. But where are the Kenyan women? Where are we?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, ask yourself that. I mean, we have so much to talk about ourselves. We have so much. This space is zikikreatiwa. And I also want to just insist that most of us, all of us who are here, you were invited in a space. This is, I would call it a very high panel space, because this is where we are discussing it's a very critical space where we are discussing very deep issues for this country. You as a leader, you are invited here as a leader. When you come to this space, what you do with this information you get from this space is up to you. Kenya will count you, and we are going to look at you and ask you, the information you got from that space, inspire ngapi? Mumeanza political educations ngapi? Can we have very many political spaces for young women? Can we start creating spaces for women and invite IEBC and so that they can hear? Sometimes they don't know. People think that women exaggerate. And sometimes we just approach them when it's almost during elections. We were told here, we see women 6 months to election. While men start strategizing every day. Sazila amechelewa hajakuja nyumbani, they sit in the men's club, they have coffee, but they're mobilizing. And they're also campaigning. And they're making and they know how to make their money. And they know where the money is. We were told here in the morning. They know where the money is. Mtu anakuambia wewe enda ufanye hivi, tutakuonesha kufanya hii, tutakupeleka KRA, utapata hii, wewe enda usign, alafu wewe ukae ukigojea. And then they get money for politics. You're still working, doing a lot of care work, taking care of the sick in the house, cooking, doing, alafu narudu nakumbuka watu wanakuambia wewe umekuwa ukitulead hapa sana kwa county. Ebu kwa county sawa, unakimbia registrar, unasaidiwa like what we were told. And then where is your social support? Where is your economic support? So we need pathways that are going to lead women to that ballot in truth. We love that we've been having a lot of these spaces. And I can say that, I can proudly say that World March of Women has seen women. Just from the spaces that we have been working in, we have seen women vying, going to the political seat and being in the ballot, up to the Senate level, you know, women trying, and we are not giving up. And we'd like to see most of us women, if every person tries, and we change our strategies. We cannot do things the same way and expect different results. So we have to really change our strategies. Men are changing their strategies. Can women also change their strategies to build pamoja?
Thank you so much. But before we wind up, before you give me, both of you, and also Honorable, I don't know if she's still online. I would want to ask, as all of us as women, how many of us are registered in any political party, by show of hand? I am a member of a political party in this place. A leader or a member of a political party. You see? Now, if we don't belong to political parties for real, and we want the political parties to support us, are we really going to get any support? They will not get you from your house and make you a leader or even give you that space if we are not going to be members of political parties, unless we want to be maybe dependent candidates, and we also know the challenges. So I would like to give this opportunity to Moses and Sophie and our Honorable JB Kilimo, just to tell us one actionable one action that you'd want us to take, or one step that you want us to take to ensure that women get into these political spaces, and the collaborative way that we need to work together. Just one. We start with Honorable JB Kilimo.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, action is more of such meetings. And listen to the women to contribute more on the challenges, and have technocrats now translate those challenges into actions or into a campaign to help women to package a message around the challenges in their communities. Over to you.
Thank you so much. We got Moses.
Well, from where I sit, I've seen that or noticed that when women are given the economic voice, then they are able to meet all their issues or needs that they do have. And therefore, my appeal from what we've done and tested and we've seen is working is that we are appealing to all stakeholders, government included, to be able to set aside a fund that then will be able to support women, not only entrepreneurs, but even to women aspiring to become leaders. And that exactly is what I believe, if it's done in the right way, then we'll have all women at that higher table, being able to participate in those spaces that truly will be able to uplift them socioeconomically. Secondly, is that looking at also something we did, if within a span of 3 years, over 878 women entrepreneurs were then able to actualize their economic goals and dreams. Then it's a call also that we can then adopt a strategy like this, then look for like-minded organizations, then like CRU. We come up with a facility then like this Jasiri. Something I wanted to mention is women rights organization. It's also a model that truly I have to appreciate. Crown Trust, CRU, Care Canada, and Uraia Trust. It's a program that is strengthening capacity of grassroots women's rights organizations so that they are able to not only get to know how to access resources and opportunities that are there out there for them, but they are able to then advocate for their rights and ensure that the social justice system is working or is functional, and that nobody is there, or what we call the systems of power are not able to perpetuate the gender inequality that limits these women from participating. So that really would be my call, that we come together, we design holistic approaches or programs, and we involve the local actors to identify these solutions and make them really responsive to unique needs of women and girls. And to political parties, this I have to mention. I may not be a politician, but I've also been in this space to witness what's happening. The Constitution provides for a female representative in each county, but we have 290 positions or posts for members of parliament. I've seen there is a gap there. There is no provision for women, what we call reserving these seats, some of these seats for women. And who are the decision makers? They are the same members of parliament, and they hold these systems of power accountable if women are not given that opportunity. Definitely that will not work. So what should the political parties do? One, they should be able to reserve seats for women that are vying for those seats that are for members of parliament, and national government to do something around the constitution so that that provision exists there. The women rights organizations or the civil society organization can work together with them so that we can craft policies and move this agenda forward so that we have issues of women integrated in the constitution so that we have equal representation in our political system. It must be inclusive and more representative.
Thank you. Sophie, one second.
Yeah, thank you. I pick up from there. One, action, it has to be very inclusive. We need to leave nobody behind. And another thing is that maybe, how about if we just, we have very many researchers in the room. We have many women who are doing a lot and amazing work out there. Can we also just learn from best practices? I mentioned Rwanda because Rwanda is mentioned everywhere. It's not only in East Africa. Globally, they have achieved more than 2/3 of women in the House. So, and looking at where Kenya is and where Rwanda is, I'm sure Kenya is at a better place. So if we can get the best practices and just share and see how best can we bring this and start these conversations from the ground. And I like that we have organizations like Kewopa who's already, taking the 2/3 agenda, now akaita 2/3 mashinani. Can we just craft, if we can pick that one agenda at 2/3 and we say that every woman should understand it. Yesterday I really felt a bit low when the question was asked. We are all here in the room and we were asked how many of us really understand the 2/3, and very few of us raised their hands up, which means there's still a gap. Maybe that is where patriarchy is taking charge and they have realized there's a gap. And now they're the ones who are taking that little space that we have given them, they're taking advantage of it. So can we find a way of just picking an agenda as a collective, women's force? Can we create a force around the 2/3 gender and start these conversations, connecting it with the best practices from a country like Rwanda, where we really appreciate that they have very many women in decision making, not only in the space in parliament and all, but they're also in decision making spaces and they're making decisions. And if you can see, for real, Rwanda is one of the best countries in East Africa. It is doing amazingly well. And they are keeping everything, even the laws, they're all binding. I think because they have a lot of women there. So can we also just follow suit? We have a better country.
Thank you so much. Can I hand over to you before we do the applause?
Sorry?
Can I hand over to you for questions?
Yes.
All right. Let's give a round of applause to our panelists. Thank you so much for the wonderful job.
All right. Round of applause for Regina and her panelists. We have had Moses Okello as well as Sophie Dola Shiha. Makofi yao. Thank you so much. Your passion for what you are communicating is palpable. I'm sure we all felt it. So thank you very much.
Woman, yeah, I'm a super